Fine, no.
Okay. Welcome back to the From the Fabricator podcast. I'm your host, Max Pearlstein. I really appreciate you once again joining me on this journey through the glass and glazing industry. A fun one once again today. I've got Joe Kaiser from Herzog Glass out in Seattle, and I have Michael Duncan from Viwinco Windows in Pennsylvania. So I crisscrossed the country a little bit. Great guys, really interesting stuff. Before we get to that, though, I have to thank my pals at FHC, who I just saw at Glass Build. And what if I told you that you could quote an entire entrance system in the same amount of time it took me to read this word from our sponsor? How about that? When one hears lead time, it's natural to immediately think production time and delivery of manufactured product. But what is your lead time on simply getting a quote from your vendor? Days? Weeks? FHC's newly upgraded and expanded InstaQuote program takes those painful unknowns and puts power directly under your control. Design, price, and quote your orders in minutes, not days. This is the fastest estimating tool in our industry. Don't believe it? Go to fhc-usa.com, sign up for your 90-day free trial, and see how this innovative tool can transform your competitive edge. Thank you to the gang at FHC, and definitely check out that tool. Last, before we get to the interviews, Glass Build I thought was fantastic. I appreciate everybody that I got to see. I'm bummed I missed a bunch, but it was a good show. Very happy about that. These two interviews that are coming up were recorded before Glass Build because with how my schedule was, there was no way I was going to get these in any sooner. So we're going to start off with Joe Kaiser, Herzog Glass, finish with Michael Duncan of Vinwinco, and then on the other side, some TV picks and wrap up. Okay. Next up on the From the Fabricator podcast, I've got Joe Kaiser, President, Herzog Glass. You can find them online at Herzog Glass. That's all one word, herzogglass.com. A great guy, an industry staple. And Joe, I'm thrilled to get to talk to you today. Thanks for doing the podcast.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. This is, I was flattered for the invitation. I guess I was a little surprised that you would pick me for something like this, but happy to do it. Always happy to have a conversation with you, Max.
Same. And no, you're somebody I've wanted for a long time just because of what you've been able to accomplish, and I'm looking forward to getting into it. I always start off my podcast with trying to get a feel for the person, where they were born, where they grew up. And it's funny, a lot of people I know, a lot of people I don't really know where you were born and grew up. I mean, I've only known you from just being from Seattle. So you want to take us through your past, where you're born, and the journey to today?
Sure. Happy to. I am a Pacific Northwest kid. I was born in the Seattle area, greater Seattle area. I've spent all of my 54 years on this planet here. I've visited traveled a lot and visited lots of places, and I haven't found anywhere else that I wanted to live.
Nice.
I guess I'm fortunate that I've been able to continue working in this area.
Yeah.
But haven't found anywhere else that I wanted to go. So grew up around here. I ended up going to the University of Washington for college. I graduated with a degree in biology,
Nice.
which I have not used probably since the last day of the last class, the biology. Right. It wasn't my path. I actually learned while I was in college. I was working for a local internet service provider, and I had worked my way up through the ranks. And my boss had come to me and said, there's a general manager position waiting for you when you get your degree. And so I went back to I was a chemistry major at the time. And I went to my counselor and I just said, how can I get out of here faster?
Right.
And she said, if you switch to biology, you save a full quarter. And I was like, switch me. And kind of the rest is history. I've been working in executive management since then, basically.
Gotcha.
And in lots of different capacities. I worked for that internet service provider. We had, I want to say 60,000 customers. We had 100,000 employees. 100 employees, 60,000 customers. We were in 13 states. And so we're a pretty good sized company at the time. And since then, I started in construction about 23 years ago.
Okay.
With a family-owned real estate developer, general contractor. It was my ex-brother-in-law's company.
Okay.
And I came on with him to kind of help him do more might be the best way to put it. It was a
Okay.
kind of a small company. There were 5 of us in the office, and I was there to help him kind of do a few more projects than he normally could.
Gotcha.
So that's where I started construction, and from there found Herzog Glass, and that was 10 years ago, 2 weeks from now.
All right. Yeah. So 10-year anniversary. So by the
Yeah,
time this comes out, we'll be celebrating the 10-year anniversary of being
yeah.
there. Very cool. Very cool. So obviously, you've been there 10 years, so the rest is history sort of thing. So I have a lot to talk to you about, and we'll start with Herzog itself. Some people out there may not know what you all do. There's certain things that you do that I know people probably don't know that you do, but can you give a rundown of what Herzog Glass specializes in and the markets you serve?
Yeah, I mean, company was founded in 1964, and essentially since that time, it's been the go-to glazing company in the Seattle area for complicated glass projects.
Gotcha.
We did. There's a lot of non-disclosure homes in the
Sure,
area
sure.
that we performed work on over the years, but we will do. Our tagline is anything in glass and metal.
Gotcha.
So we will do literally anything. If you come to our service department and you need a 4-inch diameter round glass tabletop for your coffee table, we will cut that for you and send you home with a piece of glass. All the way up to the Space Needle. We did the big remodel of the Space Needle. We more recently completed the big convention center expansion in Seattle, the Summit building. And yeah, so really anything in glass and metal.
Yeah, that and see, I didn't know until I met Luke Boylo, who works with you. I didn't
Yeah.
know about your residential side.
Yeah.
I only thought that you were a contract glazer. So when he told me, "Oh no, I'm on the residential side," I was legitimately surprised. And so that's what I meant. I think that a lot of people know you because of projects like the Space Needle, but don't
Sure.
realize how much you guys do.
Yeah, sure. I mean, residential will do a lot of high-end homes. Typically, it's the interior of the homes, mirrors and shower doors. We will work on if you're putting a curtain wall in your house, yes, that's going to be us to call for sure.
Awesome.
If you're doing vinyl windows, it's probably somebody better suited to do that than us. But we have a very large service department. We are the largest service glazer in the Seattle area. So we do a significant amount of business fixing broken windows or adjusting doors or all of those things. Service is a big part of our business.
Love it, love it. And I always talk about, diversify your business, diversify, diversify. And so obviously you guys are.
Yeah.
How hard though is that? It seems to me like you're juggling like crazy. How you as the president, how hard is it to, kind of keep it all together?
It's a good question. I mean, it's of course it's hard to have a lot of different things that you work in, but the reality is, I've in the 10 years that I've been here, that's all we've done is a lot of different things. And so I started with if you want to call it, difficult position of having lots of different things that we do. But the great thing is we have a fantastic team here, and we have some those different things are pretty well siloed out. So we have a service department, we have a residential department, and a commercial department. And so those different tasks are done by the appropriate people in those areas, and it's what they know and it's what they're good at, and that's what keeps the machine going, really. My career was started in customer service, and so I have a natural tendency to want to help a customer with any problem that they have.
Right.
And so that fits really well with what we do here.
No, that makes sense. That makes sense. I got Joe Kaiser with me, President Herzog Glass. You can find them online at herzogglass.com and see everything that they do. And one thing that they are NACC certified. So the North American Contractor Certification. It's a heck of a process. How was it for you guys? Anything surprise you as you went through that process to become NACC certified?
Yeah, for sure. It's been, I think it's been 2 years at this point we've been certified. We were the first in Washington to achieve that certification, which was kind of a proud moment for me and for the
Sure.
team here. Um, I really believe in the program. I don't know the best way to say it. I really believe in the program. I think that it's good for any glazer that wants to up their game.
Yeah.
And I say that because initially my goal with being certified was to get more business. Let's just show that we have that extra step, that we're willing to go that extra step, and bring in more business. What I didn't expect going into it was how rigorous the testing, if you want to call it that, but how rigorous the process was to get certified. They come into your shop, they look at your processes, they go out to a project, they look at your processes, and you have to be following them in such a way that it meets their standards. And as we went through that, I realized this will make us a better company. And it has nothing to do with, I mean, of course, hopefully it brings us more business, but the reality is it made us a better company. It made us look at everything that we do with a critical eye and with someone who has the experience to see those things and know whether they're being done in a proper way.
Right.
I guess you can say proper, but I think it's really in a way that gets it done in a safe and organized and efficient manner.
Yeah, and I hope that it does bring you more business because I believe in the fact that going through this process makes you better, makes our industry better. Those are the big keys here, and then hopefully it ends up in more specs saying that we want NACC or AGMT, whatever we want that. That's the goal, and that's what's got to happen to keep the bad actors that we have in every market, kind of from hurting us. Basically, that's the thing. I mean, competition's competition, but when they're not fair competition, that's a problem.
Yeah, I mean, you see those guys coming into the marketplace and underbidding everybody and then underperforming on the work. And I can't tell you how many projects Herzog Glass has been involved in where we bailed somebody out, that somebody came in and won the bid, but then couldn't properly perform the work.
It makes us look bad when that happens, even though your guys are cleaning it up. And that's what I want to get away from. We take as an industry so much bunk already, because of aluminum this and low E that and so on. And we can't have the other things. Those are self-inflicted wounds. We can't have that. So I love what you're doing there. And that's good stuff.
Yeah.
All right. So I've got Joe Kaiser with me, President Herzog Glass, HerzogGlass.com. I always break up the podcast about halfway through with a fun question. And for you, my friend, favorite all-time movie and or TV show, and why? What do you got on your viewing list?
I'm going to say this is an easy question for me to answer. And the reason I say that is when my wife, Barb, and I moved into our current house, we decided to take a fairly useless loft area in between the upstairs bedrooms and turn it into a theater room.
Nice.
Even though it's open to most of the house, I had to have the projector and the screen, and I wanted to decorate that room with movie posters.
Nice. Wonderful.
And so we had the opportunity to say, well, what's your favorite movie? What do you want to put in there? And I'm probably going to get this wrong. I think Barb, it wasn't my favorite movie. I think she chose A Room with a View. Is it the Hitchcock movie?
Yes.
Is that
yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the other one was Parasite that she chose.
Okay. Oscar Award winner. Yes.
Yeah, and Parasite was one that we both really loved. We were shocked at the ending.
Yeah.
My choices were very diverse. I picked Shawshank and Deadpool.
Nice. Very nice.
So for me, I mean, both of those movies are movies that if they come on, if I'm scrolling through the boob tube and they come on, I'm going to watch both of them to the end. They're just Deadpool's funny. It's the kind of humor that I like, and Shawshank is such a great story and engaging movie.
It is. It is. Now, do you have posters of all four up in the loft?
All four.
Good taste. Okay. Because the Room with the View poster is a classic. And then Deadpool, my son's a big Disney guy. Deadpool's now a part of Disney. I'm a big Ryan Reynolds guy. And so you're speaking to the choir there on Deadpool.
Yeah, it's just such a, I mean, was it one of the first R-rated superhero movies, I think is what the designation
Yes,
was.
And the first R-rated one that ended up under the Disney brand after they acquired the company. Yes.
Yeah, and it just made movies fun in that way, that you could go in and you could have some of the gore and the violence and funny jokes, dirty jokes, whatever they
Yep.
are,
Yep.
and laugh at it. I laugh. I've watched it probably 40 times. I still laugh every time I
It's
watch it.
fantastic. Good taste, my friend. Good taste. That's great. I love it. That you nailed that one. And I like the diversity.
Yeah.
If you would have told me, you won't guess the four movies, I would have maybe guessed Deadpool, but I don't think I would have guessed the others. Though Shawshank's a legend too, and your wife's got great taste as well. Very cool. I love it. All
Good.
right, continuing on, because as I said, I did an interview earlier today, and we got caught talking on some TV shows, and I said if we start talking TV, we're going to be in here like for all week. I start talking
Well, there's
movies with
so
you.
much good TV on right now.
Yeah,
So yeah.
exactly. It's going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. So we'll catch up at next show on all that. But let's talk about D10 versus D8.
Mm.
The interior world, Division 10 versus Division 8. I saw that you were at NeoCon. What is your take on that? Because, for me, I want to see us more in that D10 world because that's where we should be. Others should not be handling our material and trying to put it in. But you're out there, you're seeing it. What's your take on that D10 versus D8 and how you're going at it, I guess.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. It's glass. Most of it is glass and aluminum. Sometimes they fill panels with something other than glass, but it's typically aluminum. Um, and we're in a situation in Seattle right now where we have a very high office vacancy rate. I think it got as high as 38% in downtown Seattle, which is massive.
Yes.
And what you see when you have vacancy rates, I think we're 32 now, which is an improvement, certainly, but
Right.
it's still bad. And when you have that much empty office space, you'll see landlords doing whatever they can to try to attract tenants. They want to refresh their lobbies, they want to give amazing tenant improvement budgets and get people to come over and move.
Yeah.
And often those tenant improvements are done with demountable systems. Um, what I guess my goal was to get us doing more of those because
Hmm.
that's the work that's happening right
Yes.
now, at least in the Seattle area. But outside of that, I want it to be a permanent thing. That's the work that
Yeah.
we should be doing going forward. And I think in the past, at least in the past 10 years, we've been so busy with facade work that the Glazers Union kind of just said, well, we're not super worried about the demountable work. We don't really want to do it. So we're not going to fight for it. And I think that allowed, hopefully I'm not going to get in trouble with unions here. I think that allowed the carpenters to come in
Yeah.
and take the work.
Yeah.
And good on them for being interested in doing it.
Sure.
It's glazer work. It should be done by glazers. And that's where I finally got to a place where I was willing to stand up and talk about it.
Yeah.
I think it was at the BEC meeting last year.
Yep.
I stood up in front of the installing committee and said, what can we do to get this back to us? And that led to the invite to NeoCon from the IUPAT. That led to meeting with a lot of demountable manufacturers who will sell to anybody,
Yeah.
but all of them admit that glazers do a better job of the install. And so what I want to do is show them that they should be coming to glazers, that they should only be selling to glazers. And we're the ones that really should be installing this stuff. And I think that we've gotten some traction. We certainly bid the work. Oftentimes it gets so a demountable is considered furniture from a
Right.
tax perspective, so
Right.
it's a depreciable asset, and that often I think that's how the carpenters have said, well, it's furniture, it's ours, and we need to get back to how many people actually demount their system.
Not many.
Once you get it installed, how many people are going in and saying, you know what, I want something different. Let's take this out of here and put something new in.
Let's
It
move
really
this over
doesn't
to the
happen
other
until it's a
side. Right.
turnover,
Yeah.
right?
Exactly.
Until they have a turnover in the system. So that's not really furniture anymore.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
it's
so
not a
yeah,
pop up. It's not a pop up store. I mean, it's in, and you guys have to actually put it in, pretty permanent because
yeah,
you have the sound issue. You have things that you can't just make it temporary. So that's
yeah,
it's a good point by you.
yeah. So I'm hoping to just create more awareness and more talk about
Yeah.
this so that eventually, kind of via the rising tide or the overwhelming majority says, hey, this is Glazer's work. This is going to be ours.
Yeah, yeah, and Travis Nevins of IUPAT's had a couple articles on it, and at Glassbuild there's a session on it. So I think slowly but surely it's going to keep taking off, and I salute you for being a first mover. So kudos by you on that one. That's
Appreciate
that's
that.
good.
And I do have to say, sorry to, I know
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
on a timeline here.
No, no.
I'm going to miss seeing everybody at Glassfield this year. I will not be there. And it really, I have FOMO to the nth degree right now because I see everybody posting about it and I want to be there, but I have a conflict and I can't do it. So I'm sending Luke and I'm
Yep.
sending Ben Colas, and hopefully those two will represent Herzog well out there.
I have to tell you, so I got the list and I did the Excel search, and so I searched Kaiser first, and there's a guy from Cardinal with the last name Kaiser, and there's a couple other, and then there's people named Kaiserman, and
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm not finding Joe, and then I'm like, maybe there's a misspelling, so I typed in Herzog, and Luke came up, and another person came up, and then it went back to Luke again. I'm like,
Yep.
where's Joe? And I knew that you had
I'm
to have something going
sorry.
on. It's not going to be the same. It's not
I
going to be the
know I
same.
want to be there and I'm really going to miss it. And for all of you that are there, I don't know when this is going to come out, but if you already have been there or you're there when this comes out, hi, I miss you. Hugs to everybody. Sorry, I can't be there.
But it does bring me to a question about you guys still support greatly, and then the fact that you're still sending two people from Seattle to Orlando says volumes, and that you come to BEC, every year, one of you or usually you, and where I really appreciate that is there's never a show near you. I mean, and so you always have to travel, and I really appreciate that. What is, I mean, where did this come from you in the past that you knew you had to always represent and the value you saw from it?
I think for me, I love to learn. I'm a lifelong learner. I will pick up a book, I'll pick up a show, I'll pick up YouTube, whatever it is. If there's something I don't know, I want to learn about it. And I saw Glass Build specifically as an awesome opportunity to see what's out there. I came from the general contracting world.
Right.
I had hired glazing companies, but I hired them as an expert and I needed them to be the one to tell me what was going in. And so for me, selfishly, when I started in the industry, I wanted to be a part of those things so that I would learn.
Yeah.
But very quickly saw the benefit that there was an awesome learning opportunity and a lot of networking as well. And that's when it was, well, I want to start sending people to those things because I want them to learn the way I learn. I want them to see the things that are out there. And I think, honestly, Max, I think it makes you a better employee, better team member if you see those things and you meet those people and you see what's out there. It gives you that extra background to use when you're dealing with your own stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You get it. You get it. And I appreciate it. As an industry guy, I really appreciate it. I'm grateful that you support the way you do. It means a ton. And, hopefully more people can follow your lead. We need to keep that rolling for sure. Backing up on one thing, though, is on BEC, you and I talked a little bit about mentoring. And you said to me, you've got some strong feelings on that. Talk to me about, because honestly, this past month I had Kevin Black on from FlexiJet, and I asked him, he's a younger guy, and I said, how do we attract youth to our world? And he gave his answer, and it was a pretty good answer, but it is a struggle for us. And I do think mentoring plays into that. It's a crucial thing. So talk to me about it, because I know you're passionate about it.
Yeah, for sure. It's mentoring is big for me, and I think it's big for me because I was lucky enough to have a mentor. I in my first kind of career job, that same one where with the general manager position, the networking or internet service provider, the owner of the company recognized really quickly my ability for managing people. And he spent time with me to foster that. And that I didn't understand it at the time, but that was a mentoring relationship.
Yeah.
And since he's become a good friend and we keep in touch and we still talk about work and things like that. And so that mentorship relationship, mentor-mentee relationship has lasted since, 1996. Are we coming up on 30 years?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
kind of crazy. He's watched my kids grow up. I've watched his kids grow up. Um, it's what helped me understand where my capabilities were, what I worked, what environment I worked best in, and I think that it, it gave me a head start, right?
Yeah.
Because somebody recognized what I was capable of and was able to bring that out in me rather than just hiring me and saying go to work.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that's what's important to me. I want people that come into Herzog to have that same opportunity. I want them to see what they're good at, know what they're good at, have somebody give them that confidence to try something because I believe they can.
Yeah.
And I hope that that helps them grow in a way that kind of speeds up their trajectory.
Well said. Well said. And I mean, that's what we need. We need that more. We can't just hand people here, go to my glass class and learn, and I'll see you tomorrow, sort of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's important, but you have to, the mentoring is just so crucial, so
Yeah,
crucial.
and I have to admit, I have on my whiteboard to create an official employee mentorship program. I don't have one here.
Okay.
It's all done by just kind of natural talent.
Organic. It's an organic thing.
It is
Yeah.
organic, yeah. It's something we have the attitude here of helping. We want to help each other with anything, and that's something that we do a very good job at. But we don't. I don't have a formal program, and I have a lot of things in my head that I want to create a formal program.
Got a lot. You got a lot going on, so you have to
Yeah,
kind of pick your spots. But I do love that you have an organic one, and that's all that really matters. So it's good stuff.
yeah.
Two more questions for Joe Kaiser, President Herzog Glass. See them online at Herzog Glass. It's all one word.com. Very good website. And there was my project of the week a little while ago. I had the
Thank
Space
you for
Needle
that.
project, which
Yeah.
was fascinating. It's beautiful, stunning. I know everybody was like, the questions came into you about what did you do here, what did you do there, and like I can't talk about that. My question is from a stomach and nervousness standpoint, how was that? Because this is a project that everybody will see, everybody will look at, everybody will want to touch. How and I mean, you have billions of eyeballs on you. How is that? How do you deal with a high visibility project like that? Because that's intense.
Absolutely. Yeah, I was nervous. It certainly was the most high profile project Herzog had done. But I think it's fairly safe to say that it's one of those high profile projects, more high profile than most companies get to do
Yes, yes,
in
absolutely.
their lifetime. I I was never not confident that this team could pull it off. We have mechanics, I'll call them, on our team here. They like a challenge. They like things that they have to use their head for, and they're good at that. So I was convinced they would all pull. It was, in fact, my very first day on the job here. The plans for that project were set in front of me and said, "This is what we're working on," and I was like,
I'm sure. Wow. Did not know
but it
that. That's a
was,
heck of a first day.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of those projects that you just anybody can ask me what I do if I'm in downtown Seattle and they say, "What do you do?" I just have to point
Yeah.
and say,
Yeah.
"We did that." And that's fantastic. What was nerve-wracking for me, the most nerve-wracking moment or point of that job was when I learned that they were going to keep it open to the public during construction.
Wow.
And so my head immediately, thousands of things running through my head, but most importantly, the one that bubbled to the top was everybody needs to have a nice, clean, high vis with our logo on it.
Yeah.
They need to be 100% on safety all the time. Of course, we are. That's something we strive for all
Yes.
the time. But I had to stand up in front of the group and say, "You are going to have the way that it was planned out was they were going to give us an eighth of the pie at a time.
Okay. Okay.
So it turned out to be too small that you really couldn't get enough movement in with
Right.
all that needed to be done. So they gave us a quarter of the pie. But the other three quarters were open and the general public was up there. And I stood up in front of my team and I said, "You are going to have 1,000 cameras on you every moment you are up there. And if I were a customer of the Space Needle and it was under construction, I would look at that as a wow, I got to be there while they were working on it.
Yeah,
Here's a
yeah,
picture of all the things that they were doing. And so I promise you guys, everybody's going to be taking videos, everybody's going to be taking pictures, and you doing something wrong
yeah,
might be the next viral moment
sure.
that's got our name all over it. So everybody on your game 100% all the time. Make sure that you are putting on a good face. And they did a fantastic job with it.
It's beautiful. It's beautiful. And I had no idea that it was open during construction. That adds a whole nother layer. And when we talk about, signature projects, there's maybe 15 projects in the US and Canada, that would be that sort of thing. You have CN Tower in Toronto. You have, some of the museums and so on, maybe in DC and some other areas, or, in LA. But I mean, this is an iconic structure that is one of a kind. I mean, it's
Absolutely,
legendary.
one of a kind. Yeah, I mean, there is no other Space Needle. There's
Yeah,
some, like you mentioned, the CN Tower. There are other observation towers,
right.
which is what the Space Needle was originally kind of designed like, an observation tower. I heard an interesting stat during the construction. The architect, um, Blair, said that Blair's with Olson Kundig,
Yeah.
said that this Space Needle is second only to the Eiffel Tower in its recognizability for a city,
Wow.
right? So if you
Wow.
take out the Eiffel Tower and you take out the Space Needle and you show people the skyline of the city without those things, the Eiffel Tower makes Paris
Yes. Yes.
and the Space Needle makes Seattle, and it's one and two in that order, which was crazy to hear. I grew up here, so it's kind of background noise for me.
Right.
It was, but it's the Space Needle.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. Very, very cool. And I'm still kicking myself that when I was in Seattle, I didn't go up the Space Needle. So that if and when I come back out there, I
You saw
told
my
you
invite.
that
Yep.
absolutely, I will take you up on that. Very, that's a heck of a project. All right, wrapping up, last one, 2026. This is a tough one just because we have no idea what's going on in the world half the time. It's changing like crazy. Any
Yeah.
feel for what the year ahead is going to look like? I mean, I know you have your own internal planning. I mean, but how you feeling about next year?
Sure. It's still depressed here, I guess might be the right word for it. We still have a high office vacancy rate. I think when COVID hit, that was one of the first things that I said to people was this work from home stuff is going to be really bad
Yeah.
for companies that rely on office construction. It didn't materialize as soon as I thought it would, but it did. And it turned into, hey, everybody's working from home, and all of a sudden you have a 38% vacancy rate, and well, you have that, and combine that with high interest rates. Nobody's building new
Right.
buildings,
Right.
and so I do believe we're coming out of that. I think I read recently that the construction industry in Seattle was down 12,500 jobs from its peak,
Wow.
which is a really significant number.
Yeah.
But I can say that we are starting to see more frequent requests for quotes, and the size of those requests for quotes are going up.
Good. Good.
So we're starting to see some more significant projects, and it feels like, and again, these are all feelings. I have
Yeah.
no way of actually predicting anything, but it feels like business is coming back.
All right. I take that. The trend is your friend. I like that. If you're feeling
Yep.
that trend, let's go with it. That's very
Yeah.
cool. Well,
Yeah.
my friend, it won't be the same at Glass Build without you. I will say that, but I look forward to seeing you in Louisville in the spring. And Joe Kaiser, President Herzog Glass, HerzogGlass.com. Thank you so much for doing the podcast. Really enjoyed getting to know you and your company, and continue all the great work out there.
Yeah, thanks, Max. My pleasure. This was a lot of fun. I'm glad you asked, and I've really enjoyed spending the time talking to you.
Same. Thank you very much. Thank
Hey glazers and fabricators, FHC, the frameless hardware company, is here to support your business. In addition to offering a complete selection of glazing tools and supplies to get the job done right, we design, engineer, and manufacture a comprehensive offering of frameless shower door systems, heavy glass doors, aluminum entrances and storefronts, architectural railings, transaction and display hardware. Privately owned and American-made, FHC prioritizes you, the customer. You now have a choice. Visit fhc-usa.com.
Okay. I'm thrilled to have Michael Duncan, President and CEO of Viwinco Windows and Doors. You can find them online at viwinco.com. This is a part of the world I don't know very well, and so I can't wait to talk to Michael Duncan about it. Michael, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for doing it.
Yeah, no problem, Max. I appreciate you having me and looking forward to it.
I'm glad, and I can't wait to kind of dig into everything with you. And this is really legitimately the first time we're getting to talk, in person. Yeah. We exchange some emails. So I'm really excited to kind of dig in here because a lot of the guests I know or have known. And so this is neat when I don't know. So let's talk about you and your path, where you were born, grew up, and how you've made it to the world of Vinwinco and everything you guys are doing over there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was born in Chester County, Pennsylvania, which is kind of in the backyard of where we're located. Kind of grew up here, moved a little bit, but for the most part, kind of been around local my whole life.
Okay.
My dad was the GM at Viwinco for 35 years. So, kind of grew up around the business. I remember as a little kid running down the hallway and that type of thing. So, at that point, didn't really think about working here or didn't have those ideas, but here we are. I went to college in Susquehanna University up in Selinsgrove, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
As not particularly a great student, as my dad, very fortunate for him, called it one expensive cover charge. But, I was there and kind of partying, having fun, graduated in 2009, kind of oblivious to what was going on in the world and especially this industry, right? With the housing market crash and all of that. So, graduated, wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. So ended up coming to work at Viwinco in customer service, full time. For a couple years prior to that, and summer gigs, kind of worked every line here. Like first job was cutting grass. That wasn't such a bad gig, working in loading, warehouse, on the line and counting. Yep. So kind of, got exposed to a lot of different areas, probably the most, informal, and I didn't know it at the time, like training program for very long range. So started out full-time in customer service, did that for a couple years, then went and managed a territory down on the Eastern Shore of Delaware and Maryland, did that for about 7 years. Met my wife, got married, getting ready to have a kid, and it was kind of what's the next step here?
Yep.
And then around 2017, 18, kind of moved back up here and came to work inside as director of marketing, and then very, very quickly kind of got more control, took over sales, and then became general manager, kind of responsible for everything. And then the rest is kind of history.
Nice.
So yeah, it's been a fascinating journey.
Yeah, no, I like it. And I love the fact that I always love when I talk to somebody, my guest last month, Seth Madola of Viracon, he did everything there.
Yeah.
And I love that you did it too, because it gives you so much more respect for everybody on the line. It helps the culture too, because you've been there.
Yeah, it really does. It's credibility. It's also an understanding, like a totally in-depth understanding of how the business runs.
Right.
And then I think for me, it was also having the exposure of both like ops and internal versus that customer facing exposure, and really being able to have both of those has been very helpful, because I think, it's hard, right? The customer facing don't necessarily have an understanding of the ops side. Ops side doesn't have an understanding of that customer facing world. So being able to kind of bridge those two gaps has been very, very helpful for sure.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. I like it. I like it. Now, those who don't know what Viwinco is about, what you guys do, and like I said, this is a new, I'm not as strong on your side of the ball as I am on the other. So I was excited to kind of dig into the Viwinco story. But, let the folks out there who may not be aware of what you all do and what your focus is and your specialty over at Viwinco.
Yep. Yeah. We're a custom vinyl window and sliding patio door manufacturer. We
Okay.
do replacement, new construction. We also make an impact resistant product.
Nice.
This is predominantly for the residential market, single family homes. We dabble a little bit in multifamily, but the majority of it is single family residential. We go kind of New York, Canadian border down to Florida, out to St. Louis, mostly business to business. So we'll sell to other distributors, lumber yards. We also sell to some direct, kind of remodeling companies.
Hmm.
So that's kind of the super Cliff Notes version.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Yeah. And a very impressive website at viwinco.com. You being an ex-marketing guy, I'm sure you had your fingers all over that. Looks good. Looks good. And on there, it talks about your core tenets. And I love this. I love culture. I love, mission statements, things like that. And your core tenets were really interesting. And I'm very curious how this came about because we had COVID. Did this happen before COVID, after COVID? How did it all get formalized and become so important to you guys?
Yeah, it happened during COVID, but wasn't really a result of COVID. I think, a couple things there. Some of it was just some kind of mentalities and behaviors and themes that we've kind of exhibited throughout the years. I think we kind of took that. We're also kind of undergoing a lean transformation. So it was, how do we, what is one of the first steps we can take to kind of kick that off? So we call it the Viwinco performance system. The core tenets were kind of the first component of that. And we know, I mean, it's nothing super groundbreaking, but we know we want to take care of our customers. We want to take care of our employees. And we're also very motivated on how do we do things differently, right? And get better every day. So really those were the key foundations for that. And, to help kind of drive those, behaviors and mentalities that we're looking for. I think the challenge is, it's one thing to put it on a piece of paper, then put it on the walls, but
Right.
but how do we kind of live it and breathe it every day?
Yep.
And that's something we're still trying to figure out. But it was really just those kind of guiding principles for how we want everybody to think here.
And I like what you said there because anybody that says that they've got it figured out is lying because it's always you're living it. You're always trying to figure it out, right? I mean, it's a living, breathing thing.
Absolutely. And I think we are, and in some ways by getting it documented and making it visible does help a little bit because it just helps us kind of collect our thoughts. It gives us something we can point to. So then it's really cool to kind of see somebody reference a core tenant. We've been able to bake it into some other areas of the business where, hey, if we're going to do this, what core tenants does it hit on, that type of thing. So it's been cool to see. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds that way. It sounds that way. I got Michael
Yep.
Duncan with me, President and CEO of Viwinco Windows and Doors. See them online at viwinco.com. And one thing you and I chatted briefly before we started, I love the fact you're ahead of the curve, and when you kind of do some research on you guys, you see that you are. And when I've talked to people about it, you're getting new, best in class sort of equipment. You're adding things like the 𝘭𝘠 IFL line, which is like really the first of its kind. You're always kind of being ahead of things, but I know it can be frightening as hell to be the leader. So talk to me about how it comes about and how your intestinal fortitude deals with jumping into the deep end sometimes.
Yeah, I think it's a couple things. Like one, we referenced, when we talked about the core tenants, is that how do we do something a little bit different and better?
Yep.
So I think that trying to find the latest and greatest or the cutting edge or a new way of doing things kind of lines up with our mentality of how can we get better every day to support our customers and our employees. I think, the other piece is we're not the biggest. So how can we look at ways to differentiate ourselves or gain an edge?
Yeah.
And that's kind of some of this equipment or software or other things that we're doing. And I think, also it's just cool, right?
Yeah.
And I think we've always been focused on machinery and automation, and I think it's a really cool thing.
Yeah.
And I think that the cool nature just gets people excited about it and, can really get some buy-in there. but it does present some challenges because it's things that we're learning and the vendor is learning and other people are learning, like how does it actually work? What are kind of the levers that need to be pulled? So it can be a big learning curve, but I think it's okay because as long as the decision was sound and we're pretty clear on what this is going to do for us, we can kind of push through. But it definitely requires a different approach and mentality, a different set of skills just to maintain the equipment.
Yeah.
So certainly some challenges and dynamics, and it can be a little scary, but that cool factor can also make it fun.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and I think, like you said, when you're competing in a big pool and you got a lot of people in there and you're trying to differentiate yourself, that's a great way to do it.
yeah.
Is go with the next gen technology. I love it.
Yeah, and it's also been a good, tool for us for exposure because we launched our new glass shop a couple of years ago, and
Right.
vendors with the equipment have wanted to bring people in to take a look at it. It's a lot of customers going through, so it's helped us kind of build some exposure around, how we fabricate our glass. So
Sure,
yeah.
sure. Do you feel like the belle of the ball when you go to glass build, since you've been the one who like jumps in to buying cool new equipment that everybody wants to grab you into their booth and say, Michael, look at this, look at this.
Yeah, and it's sometimes it's like, well, there's nothing else left to buy. Yeah,
I can imagine. I
yeah,
especially you get that reputation. You're like, oh, you got to talk to this guy, sort of thing.
yeah,
Very cool. I love it. I've got
yeah.
Michael Duncan with me, President and CEO of Viwinco Windows and Doors. I always break up the podcast about halfway through with a fun question or a little off topic. And for you, I have, do you have any role models? And if so, who and why?
Yeah, I think I can give the simple kind of close to home one and then the
Right?
more kind of fun one. So,
Go for it.
for me, the seeing our owner David Barnes, being able to see him in action, he's really helped kind of paint that picture of doing the right thing, taking care of the employees. We are in business to generate profits, right? But it's not all about the last nickel. So really coming and kind of learning that, and then seeing my dad in action as almost that yin and the yang
Yeah.
of that urgency and accountability to drive results. So, seeing those two in action, I was able to learn and kind of take both sides of that, right? And try and do a good job balancing that. So that's, kind of that close to home. And I think they'd be open, is also seeing what I would like to do differently based on their approach. So
Right.
I think a role model can be both, right? Is, hey, here's the good things and here's some mistakes, right? And learning from that. I think on the other side, and you know, you look at TVs and movies, and I certainly don't condone gangs and violence and drug dealing, right? But I've always kind of been drawn to some of those, leaders of organizations in the movies and the TV shows, whether it's, Bobby Axelrod from Billions or Thomas
Right.
Shelby from Peaky Blinders or Walter White,
Yeah.
and it's really cool to kind of see them, right, and how they approach kind of building an organization or an empire, and what to do, what not to do. So I think it's the real world and then also that fantasy world, and kind of learning from that. So
I love it, and you have great taste in TV. Breaking Bad's my all-time favorite show by
yeah,
far. So you got me on that one. I think you nailed it. I liked it. Not a lot of people would say that, but you're right. I mean, there's something to be learned from some of those things for sure.
yeah, yeah,
Uh,
definitely. Yeah, I might have to. Sometimes I'll go back and rewatch a show. I'm kind of, there's not much out right now, so I'm like, what should I go back and rewatch? So I got to figure that out. Maybe Breaking Bad is the one.
Yeah,
So
and if you haven't watched Tulsa King with Sly Stallone, he's running
yeah,
an organization too, so that could give you a little bit of flavor. But
yeah, I saw that. Maybe I'll check that one out.
love
So
it, love it, love it. A few more questions for Michael Duncan. If we start talking TV, we're going to be on this forever. So a few more questions. You mentioned earlier about your coverage territory is pretty large.
yep.
And so right now you're in Northeast down to Florida. You're expanding now towards the Midwest. How far do you guys want to go? And then what are the challenges like right now? I mean, it's a pretty big territory to cover. I mean, so there's got to be a lot of thought going into all this.
Yeah, I think, we're still trying to work out, you know, if you want to grow there, that's certainly one option is geographic expansion. So I think, we're still trying to work through how we want to approach that. One thing with us is our logistics side is in-house. So it's all of the drivers are our employees. Tractors and trailers are either owned or leased. So we pride ourselves on really controlling the source there. But that also creates challenges. And you look at Florida as an example, it's both the most complex product we make because of the impact, and it's also the furthest away.
Yeah.
And, locally, when you have volume and you're trying to grow, it's a little bit easier. It's not as simple when you're trying to figure out how to get stuff down to Florida because the driver's leaving, Monday, Sunday, and then they're not getting back to Friday. So you're tying up a driver for a week, a lot of equipment.
Yeah.
And so you also got to be smart, right? We want to take care of the customers, but we also got to make sure that it's cost effective. So I think that the biggest problem, we can make it here. It's that logistics piece and making sure we can do that to support the customers and also in a cost effective manner.
Yeah, no doubt that's, there is that challenge, but I do like that you keep it in house. That makes a big difference.
Yeah. A lot of times, because we do milk runs, so the same customers get a truck every week, and so they're seeing our trucks and our drivers every week. They're a huge face of the organization for our company, so very, very gracious for them.
Yeah. I grew up in the fabrication side of the business, and our drivers were our best salespeople by far.
Yeah.
I mean, they made friends with the right people too. Those people in the back and those installers, if they like your product, they fight for your product. If they hate your product, they fight against your product.
Yeah.
So you get it. Your drivers are crucial. I love it. You get good,
and you also get some of that information because they're tapped into a different group of people at the customer base. So it's also good to get some of that feedback.
For sure.
So yeah, definitely.
Sure. I love it. A few more questions from Michael Duncan, President and CEO of Viwinco Windows and Doors. Check them out online, viwinco.com. Your product offerings, anything that has surprised you the way it's taken off? I mean, you've got a pretty vast line. Is there something that you thought would be, okay, this will be okay, and then it just went bonkers?
Well, I think, when you look at the impact resistant product line, Florida's somewhat new for us. It was a piece of the business, but up in the Northeast, it was kind of Jersey, Delaware, Maryland.
Right.
They had at one point required impact resistant products on the coast, and then some of the codes changed and that went away. And it's kind of like, that's not ideal for us.
No.
But it's that Ocean View impact resistant product was about 14% of our business, and now it's more than double that.
Wonderful.
And sharing a little bit of information, but it's okay. And so it's been really cool to see that product grow, especially in markets that 5 years ago wasn't necessarily a big thing for us. So that's been really cool to see. I think the other piece along with that is everything also, and I think you see this in other publications and surveys, everything is just getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So you kind of walk out in the factory and it's like you just see an order of like these huge picture windows or geometrics or patio doors going down the line. So that's been kind of fascinating to see that transition to big units.
Yeah, big is definitely crazy.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So those would really be, I think, the two that we've seen. Obviously the colors, that's a thing. So when we launched the black exterior years ago, that weren't really sure. And that's now become a big piece of the business. And now everybody wants the black on black. So,
yeah.
I think it's, those are what we're seeing. And I think they line up with the trends that everybody's pointing out.
No, so. Good point. And the black is very popular. Yeah. So you guys are a leader in that as well. Curious, the tariffs. You're an American company. You're there in Pennsylvania. Any effect on you from the tariffs? I mean, you obviously source everything that you can from the U.S. and you're doing things in your own plant, but have you been affected at all by the tariffs?
Certainly. I think we do a pretty good job sourcing domestically on most of our key components. So our glass comes an hour and a half away. Our vinyl comes from Ohio. Right. But not everything can be, right? And so when you start looking at some of the other components, hardware, that's going overseas. so you are getting impacted, and some of the tariff rates have been kind of crazy. So I think we've been able to put some plans in place to mitigate it. I think the other piece that we've seen in certain cases is, oh yeah, we're sourcing this domestically. But they're sourcing some of their components from overseas. So you kind of get that. Well, it's, then there's some challenges there, but it's been impactful, but it hasn't been crazy. I think the other piece is just that uncertainty of what, they're on, they're off, that type of thing. It's, sometimes that uncertainty piece is the biggest challenge, because if we know and we can execute on that, that's fine. But we start trying to go down a plan and then it changes and then changes back. So something we didn't fully anticipate this year, but we're dealing with it.
Yeah, if you would have told me in January that in November we're still kind of uncertain and visibility is still murky, I'd be like, come on, really? Really?
Yeah.
And it is every day. Every day it changes. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I love it. Love it. One more question for Michael Duncan, President and CEO of Viwinco Windows and Doors. See him at viwinco.com. And if you go to Glassbuild, you'll see like a crowd around Michael because they all want his attention. 2026, what are you seeing from a business standpoint? What are you feeling economy-wise? We just talked about the instability and the craziness with the tariffs. How are you feeling about your business and the economy at large for next year?
I think it's tough, right? Because when you look outside and you look at all of the noise and the information, it doesn't paint a great picture about the economy or the building materials industry or new construction building. I think you see that some of the consumers still seem to be spending money. I think we see, obviously a lot of discussion around interest rates and expect those to start going down. But the overall picture isn't necessarily very pretty for a lot of growth in the industry. So we got to be cognizant of that and not make bad decisions, but we got to try and do what's best for us and make our own decisions. So, you kind of see some of that, and you see certain businesses kind of pulling back on spending and stuff. And we're here kind of like, hey, we're gonna keep doing our thing.
Yeah.
So we expect to have a strong year next year if we execute on the things that we need to, and just be cognizant of the economy. But we don't want to use that to necessarily dictate everything that we're doing here. It's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, I think, with businesses, right? They see the external noise, and then they make decisions internally, and then that creates a compounding effect. So it's challenging, but we're going to keep doing what we do.
Yeah, and I think you've built a business, and you and your team have built a business that is the foundation strong enough that you won't have that compounding issue because you've built off those core tenets and you've built from the past and you've learned your lessons. And so I think that's why you could go in and that you're not going to panic when something drops in your lap that, boggles the mind, I would say.
Yeah, and it's, we're also, I think, pretty like the new construction is a big piece of the business, as is the remodeling, as is the impact. So we're not so heavily weighted on one or the other. So I think when certain areas are struggling, it's an opportunity in some other areas. So yeah.
For sure. Good stuff. Well, I appreciate it. I've been Michael Duncan, President and CEO of Viwinco Windows and Doors. Check them out at viwinco.com. Great products, and can't wait to see where you continue to go, my friend. This is this is exciting. I hope to see you in person one of these days, and look forward to following your progress. This is really, really good.
Absolutely. I appreciate the kind words and appreciate having the opportunity to talk to you, and looking forward to meeting up at some point.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Okay. Thank you very much to Michael Duncan from Vinwinco. He was fantastic before that. Joe Kaiser from Herzog Glass, spectacular as well. So good stuff once again on From the Fabricator podcast, which is brought to you by FHC. They've got their newly upgraded and expanded InstaQuote program. It is something special, the fastest estimating tool in our industry. If If you don't believe me, go to FHC-USA.com, sign up for your 90-day free trial. It is transformative, folks. Give that a shot. Thank you to FHC for their support. As I do every week, or every time out, not every week, every time out, TV picks. Death by Lightning on Netflix. It is the story of James A. Garfield, the American president. I think he was the 20th president of the United States. I knew a little bit about the story, but this story so far has me engrossed. 4 episodes. I'm halfway through, and it's really well done. The acting is fantastic. And then just recently has come out, and I'll be watching it soon, the Eddie Murphy documentary on Netflix. I grew up watching Eddie Murphy, basically become a superstar. And so I'm really curious to see how they do that. It's called Becoming Eddie, the Eddie Murphy documentary on Netflix. So check those out. All right, that's it for me for this time out. Next month, it is my wrap-up episode with just one single guest. It's going to be a doozy. I'm really, really excited. It's been a heck of a year, and it's a great way to wrap it up with one final go at it for 2025. Thank you, everybody, for checking this out, and we will see you next time.
Oh, the music is stopped.